Welcome to the Football Thunders podcast, episode 19, brought to you by the Proper Blokes Club, walking for mental health, and let us talking and playing football for helping with mental health. With us on this episode, I've got Ryan Scott. How you doing, Ryan?
Buonasera.
Oh, hello. It's nice. And Dan Finch.
Bonjour.
Oh, hello. Forsprung Dirk technique. We're going around the nations, are we? Coming up on this pod, worst signing, best left backs, the shithouse game, pick, bench and sell. And then shithousery of the week. That's what we've got coming your way. And we'll also tell you what's coming next week, because hopefully it should be a special one. More about that a bit later, I would think. What do you think, fellas?
Yep. Yeah.
So let's get straight into it. Best left backs. Now, as the more mature member of the team, and my choices will be somewhat different to, although I've got a sneaking suspicion, my choices will be somewhat different to yours. So do you think I should go first?
Do your top one first, and then we'll go around.
The 1800s over and done with, shall we?
I'm not. I don't want to do my top one first because I want to leave that till right at the end.
Okay, right. Well, ladies and gentlemen, settle in for story time with
actually,
Grandpa. Come on,
no. There's a couple here. So the first one is Paul Breitner of Germany. He played in the 1974 World Cup, which Germany won, and he played in the 82 World Cup as well. He only got 48 caps, but he was one of the best left backs. He was just. But the thing about Breitner was, he was a left back, but he'd pop up all over the place. He'd be suddenly turn up at centre forward or centre back, but he's it's just difficult to describe. Such a good player, such a classy player. So that's my first one. My second one is another German from the 1990 team, Andreas Bremer, which Ryan, you may just remember. Blonde hair, blonde mullet, sorry. Just a really good defender, but he was very good going forward, and he had a shot on him as well. He would definitely... He was Bayern Munich, Kaiserslautern and Inter Milan. There you are. He started out his career... He was at Bayern Munich 86 to 88, Inter Milan from 88 to 92, and then he went to Real Zaragoza before finishing at Kaiserslautern. I'm not very good at describing why they were good. It's just... I just think if you were watching at that time, you'll know how good he was. And the other one is Lizarazu from France. I loved watching him play. I just thought he was absolutely superb. From an England point of view, it's difficult because I loved Kenny Sampson when he played. Absolutely adored Kenny Sampson. I really liked Stuart Pearce because he could defend and he could get forward and just thunderous in the tackle, wasn't he? Just amazing. Of the current bunch, it's difficult. I like Luke Shaw, but he's up and down, isn't he? I mean, he suffered under Mourinho and he's going through a bit of a tough time. But internationally, I don't think he's done a lot wrong. And I thought he was superb in the recent European nations. So those are my players bubbling under. And I'm not going to do the one that I think is is my winner yet. But who wants to go next?
Go on, Dan.
How long's your list, right?
I've got a fair few.
Here we go.
I mean, I've got... So we've both got lists, so then I'll read off mine, and then Ryan will pick up the scraps if he's got any.
Yep.
So the one that Pete said that's on my list was Lizarazu. I remember watching him play for France.
98,
right?
Yeah.
Through video clips. The English mention on my list is, I think it's quite obvious, Ashley Cole.
Oh, yeah.
For the time that he spent playing for England and for Chelsea/Arsenal. For a lad that at 17 was a striker, not bad. As a left back by the age of 18, 19. The next one is current day, Andrew Robertson. I think he's arguably, if not the best left back right now, he's one of probably the best right now.
The guy on the right back at Liverpool, Robertson, hasn't had a sort of a dip in form, has he? He's been pretty consistent.
Robertson's also, I think, an all-round modern-day wing-back. He can get forward and attack, but also he's like, if I saw a team line up and Andrew Robertson was playing left centre-back and in a back three, I wouldn't be concerned because I still think he could do a job. I think he's physical enough that he could not be muscled, where I think Trent would struggle, and he can tackle. And that's my problem with Trent, is that his defending's not as good as a wing-back would, where I think Robertson can do that. Right, so that I've got loads. Paolo Maldini.
Yeah.
I mean,
20 years.
By the time I watched him, he was predominantly a centre back.
20 years.
But
top, that fella.
I was aware that he played for a long spell at left back. I watched him play along a centre back alongside Nesta, but I'm aware of his quality not only at centre back but also before at left back. There's 2 Man United players that I'll mention before Ryan does. Patrice Evra never gets the mention that I think he truly deserves. Very talented.
And he had to follow a tough act, didn't he?
Yes, and he did. And getting on to someone that he followed.
Yeah.
Dennis Irwin. That one will please Ryan. We went through Dennis Irwin in the 90s. Well, I don't know if you've ever interested in our views on Dennis Irwin, go back and listen to Ryan. He cakes his pants on many episodes.
Yeah.
Jordi Alba of the Barcelona era. People say him and we're not going to go back onto the Dani Alves from last week, but I actually thought Jordi Alba
actually shit though, isn't he, Dani Alves?
Dani Alves, he was. Yeah.
Actually,
Jordi Alba, I actually thought when he played for Spain showed a defensive side, which you didn't see at Barcelona because they didn't defend. Eric Abidal,
who would have
very
been
good left back,
and who would have been way up that list had he not been ill. Had the problems. He had to have a transplant, didn't he? And you know, so that held him back a bit. Yeah.
There's a last one, but I also just want to mention, if anyone says Marcelo in this argument, I will refer you to Dani Alves and we will move on. So the last one I'll mention is Roberto Carlos. Yeah, what a boy.
Going forward, yes.
He was okay defensively.
Yeah, that's the thing. He's okay.
But he was better than Marcelo, who was the other option.
Yeah,
and
but
that's not happening.
he wasn't a patch on players like Lizarazu and some of the other players you've mentioned.
But you could argue that Roberto Carlos was the first modern day wing back. So I think for that, he probably deserves to be on the list.
Deserves to be on the list, but he ain't topping it. Not a chance.
No.
Ryan, let's get... Oh, wait, hang on. Let's get me camp bed out. Here we go. We could be here a while.
Honourable mentions go to Nigel Winterburn at Arsenal. His medals speak for themselves. As you said, it's the same with Lee Dixon.
And a defender more than anything else.
John Arnorisa, formerly of Liverpool. I always thought he was a bit underrated. He had a great shot on him. He was very good going forwards. Maybe a little bit weaker going back, but I still think he was worth an honourable mention.
I have him and Graham Lasso on my list, but not on the tier.
Graham Lasso's a good shout, actually, to be fair.
See?
Giovanni Van Bronckhorst, the new Rangers manager, did very well late stages of his career with Arsenal and Barcelona and had a very good career at Rangers.
To be honest, I'd have a good career at Rangers, the standard of Premier League when he was playing.
Gabriel Heitzer, he was only at Manchester United for a limited time, but I thought he was a very good left back. There's a name here I'm not sure either of you will know, but I'll chuck it in there.
Go on in.
His name was Moreno Torricelli. He used to play for Juventus in the early to mid-90s. No. He was an absolute animal. Imagine an Italian Stuart Pearce that didn't give a fuck. It's the only way I could describe him. He just plowed through everyone.
You need to watch the Italian team in the 60s and 70s, and you'd have seen a whole defense.
He would have fit in.
A whole defense that wouldn't give a flying fuck about anyone, and they didn't.
Exactly.
And the referees let him get on with it as well.
Ian Hart in his prime.
Ian Hart.
He was very good and a great set piece taker as well.
Shout. Alongside with Gary Kelly on the other side, that was a hell of a setup, wasn't it?
And at one point they had Rio Ferdinand and Jonathan Woodgate.
Yeah, that was four fit.
Very good one of them team. Next week, I'm sure.
Those four fit, which probably never happened, just on basis of Woodgate being in there. But those four fit as a defence, to me, that is a championship winning defence. You could build a winning team, a championship winning team on that, couldn't you?
That lead side wasn't that far off because when you look at it, they had Paul Robinson in goal, a very good goalkeeper. They had that back four. They had Lee Bowyer in midfield. They had Harry Kewell on the left wing. They had Mark Viduka up front, who was a very good striker.
Alan Smith with Viduka in that Leeds team was superb as well.
There was another striker as well, wasn't there?
That Tony
Yeboah for a while as well.
Tony Yeboah before that.
No, Robbie Keane.
Jimmy Floyd Hasselbaink.
Jimmy Floyd Hasselbaink. Yeah, let's move over from that fat lumber lard.
The last honourable mention is Robert Jarni of Croatia. Massively technically gifted, very good going forwards. And it was one of those weird ones that after Euro 96, half of the Croatia team came over to the Premier League. But they went to really bizarre places. They went to Derby County, Portsmouth,
Southampton.
And Robert Jarni, of all people, turned up at Coventry City.
Yeah.
He should have played at a higher level, and he did very well in Spain. Let's talk about the big names now.
Before we do, I'd just like to do my Football Manager shout out. There's always one.
Go on.
This week, Christian Chivu.
Yes. Oh, hang on. He's pinching one of mine now.
I'll give you another one from.
Hang on. No.
Manager.
Christian Chivu, I played at centre back alongside Mexis. Super.
Yeah, he's a left back.
Romanian.
Yeah, no, I played him at centre back, and he was fine.
Played for Ajax and Roma. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'll give you another one from Football Manager. Then we're going back a few years. Dide, the Brazilian.
Dide. Yeah.
Dide
from Dortmund.
Always signed him.
Yeah, I did as well.
Let's get on to the big ones. My personal top 3 left backs I've ever seen. Roberto Carlos, as Dan said.
Can I just say I haven't given the name of my top one yet?
Yeah.
By the way. Thank you.
Roberto Carlos, I mean, one of the things I remember for him, most people remember him for his insane free kicks. I remember him for the size of his thighs. I don't know if you remember how big his thighs were. They were absolutely enormous. And he was tiny as well. He wasn't a tall man by any stretch of the imagination. But as Dan said, going forwards, absolutely amazing. And he was better defensively than people gave him credit for. Number 2 is Dennis Irwin. I just don't think there's a more consistent player I've ever seen in my life. And when Alex Ferguson turned around and says in every interview he does that the first person he's picking on his team sheet is Dennis Irwin, I think that tells you everything you need to know.
Roy Keane says that as well.
And number 1 that I don't think I've ever seen a left back before or since that's been this good is Paolo Maldini. His record speaks for himself. His talent speaks for itself. Go ahead, Pete, with your number 1 pick. But personally, I don't know anyone better than Maldini.
You've mentioned him already, and Dennis Irwin is me. He won every single honour in 12 years at Man United. Every single honour. He got picked from Oldham, and he was bang okay at Oldham, but he just went on to another level. And for 12 years, and that's the thing that, and he's the one I saw the most. For 12 years, he was just Mr. Consistent. Can't remember him having a bad game. Maldini was a quality player, but I didn't see Maldini that often. I wasn't a big fan of the Champions League. Never have been, never will be, because it's not the European Cup. Had it been a European Cup, I'd have been all over it. But because it's the format it is, I don't really like it. But Dennis Irwin, to me, do you know how many caps he won?
24. I don't think it's as many as I would
56. That's Alex Ferguson's policy of saying, you're injured, by the way, pal.
I mean, the other thing about Dennis Irwin is he was 2-footed, not as in going in 2-footed, but he could play off his left and his right. Hell of a free kick taker and a hell of a penalty taker as well.
And he could cross, he could put a first time ball in as well, and he could tackle, and his positioning was just all round for me the best of the bunch, because he could do the getting forward, he could the positions, he could see where the dangers were. You know, so he had a good appreciation of the game, and he could just tackle. Just to me, Dennis Irwin. I hate to say it, but you know, it's the way it is.
Dan, who's your number 1? Maldini.
So yeah, Maldini, with a close second being Ashley Cole for me, just because I think more because of my timeline of football. Ashley Cole was there from when I was young until I was an adult, and then Dennis Irwin. I think from going back and watching videos of him. And yeah, I think that's my 3. But I'd definitely have Maldini, number 1.
I definitely want to give a mention to Leighton Baines as well. I think his career went a little bit under the radar because of the teams he played for. But
and his injuries.
He
had a couple of bad ankle injuries, didn't he? Well, because he was England number 3 and playing really well. And then he got injured. I think it was ankle, and he didn't play for about a year, and he was never the same. But he was good. Again, could defend and could... Boy, could he get a ball into the box as well. Very good player. The wasted at Everton. I think Man U looked at him at one stage, didn't they? If I remember rightly.
Yes.
Everton.
When Evra was leaving.
Yeah, when they got him from Wigan. Was it? I think he came from Wigan, Leighton Baines, if I remember rightly.
Yeah, I think it was. Was it Wigan or Hull or Cardiff?
Wigan. It was Wigan. Yeah, it's Wigan.
Where's Wigan?
Because I have a memory somewhere, and don't ask me where. There's a picture. There's like a meme on the internet of Patrice Evra warming up with Rio and Vidic, and Patrice Evra, I think, has been nutmegged, and his face is like in shock. And the meme was when Alex Ferguson signs Leighton Baines to take your role or something. So I remember that. It always sticks in my head.
I think injuries for him did him, but it's a good mention, that one.
One last personal shout out to Mikel Silvestri. I loved Mikel Silvestri. I thought he was a great defender.
No, he had a
Played left back or centre half. I loved Mikel Silvestri.
he had a wobbly in him for me. I can't believe none of us have said Chris Powell, but I know I can. But Chris Powell would have had more.
I have my list, which is just Chris Powell and Royce Wiggins.
Yeah, Royce Wiggins and Chris Powell at Charlton. Chris Powell and Royce Wiggins for that season alongside doing Jacko's donkey work. Basically,
You leave the future Charlton manager alone.
Listen, I saw every game that season pretty much, and I know what was going on. I could see it, and Jacko would tell you as well the amount of work that Wiggins did, the overlaps. When balls were coming in from the left-hand side, it was from Wiggins more times than Jacko, let me tell you.
It's interesting that you're talking about Royce Wiggins because that brings us nicely on to pick, bench, sell.
Royce Wiggins.
And Royce Wiggins, sorry. And I've actually got one for each of you from Charlton.
Royce Wiggins.
Spreading over your timeline. So as we're talking Royce Wiggins, we'll start with Dan. So Dan, your three choices are Grant Basie, Morgan Fox, and Royce Wiggins.
Well, Wiggins is starting. It's not even questionable.
Yeah, I know where he's going to go. Basie got.
I think I'll bench Basie because if he stayed fit,
yeah,
I don't think he'd have been at Charlton very long. I think he would have got a move.
He got
Morgan Fox, woeful. Actually, I'll be fair to Morgan Fox. I actually thought Morgan Fox was not a bad defender. I always said I think Morgan Fox would end up playing centre back because I thought he was big and physical, not fast, not particularly attacking. I saw him as a centre back playing at left back, but for some reason he's just never made it into centre back.
He didn't have an attacking bone in his body. Bless him.
He scored, didn't he, against QPR, first game of one season.
Yeah.
Got in the Wales squad and then went missing.
Yeah.
And since he's left us, has been on the bench for every single club he's played for. Rightly so.
All three of those players were involved with the Welsh team.
They were Welsh.
Crazy.
Yeah.
Grant Basie, his career got cut short against Bristol Rovers. That really did him in. And he was never the same player because he had pace and he was going to go on to bigger. He was going to go on to better things. He wouldn't have stayed.
Kelly Huger's another worth on that, could be on that list.
Yeah. Kelly
Huger. Well, I was going to use Jay Da Silva as well, but I left it out. And the other one was Cedric Avina.
No, Cedric was crap.
Cedric
he wasn't crap. He just didn't play for us.
He didn't play. He was cover.
We had Royce in. He didn't get in ahead of Royce. Royce and Jay Da Silva.
Yeah,
that would be hard. Royce or Jay Da Silva would be difficult.
Would but,
okay, we'll do one now.
Hang on, Sedi was the thing that Sedi was good for. Was one of the funniest hashtags on Twitter. Having a Sedi, because he used to throw a paddy when playing piggy in the middle in training, and he would throw the bib and spit his dummy out. And Jacko christened it as having a Sedi, and the players used that.
The fans used it.
Fans used it. Everyone used it. Yeah, carry on.
Right, so we'll do this then, Dan. Jay Da Silva, Royce Wiggins, Chris Powell.
Oh, Chris Powell starts. Chris Powell starts.
Dan, one of these has got to be sold.
I know I'm selling.
Go on.
So are we saying Royce Wiggins?
Royce Wiggins at his peak, or who was the most consistent for the club?
So Chris Powell starts, Royce Wiggins benched, and Jay Da Silva gets sold.
Good boy.
Painful. But Royce Wiggins, I genuinely believe, without injury, would have played Premier League football.
Yeah, definitely. Well, he was signed for Bournemouth, and he was at Bournemouth.
Technically, he did, but as in he'd have been a regular.
But he'd have been a regular, like Simon Francis.
And if you want to look at Charlton left backs, they'll be playing Premier League football soon. Head over to Bournemouth, watch Jordan Zamora. He's one of ours.
Yeah.
Right. And one for Pete as well.
Go on.
Are you ready, Pete?
Go on.
Scott Minto, Herman Hreidarson, or Paul Konchesky.
Oh, Jesus.
And that list got worse as it went on.
That is shithousery at its best, that is. So, Herman Hreidarson.
Isn't it obvious he starts there?
Give them to me again, because I'm old and I keep...
Herman Hreidarson, Scott Minto, or Paul Konchesky.
Scott Minto starts.
Yeah, rightly so.
Scott Minto starts. Herman Hreidarson is on the bench because there was something of the night about him. And Konchesky can fuck off.
Heriderson was a big game player. When we had a big game, Heriderson showed up.
Turned up, and Heriderson was not just a good left back. He would get stuff. He would frighten the living daylights out of whoever the right winger was. What knew that they'd be up against a scrap against Herman. Oh, I loved Herman.
The long throws. That's an advantage for any team.
No, I'm just taking him for his animal ability, to be honest. Animal. Just purely. Konchesky was a pretty boy footballer. Yeah, no, not for me, Konchesky. I thought he was a tad overrated. You could have been worse there. You could have put another name in there, and that would have really thrown me.
Which one would that be?
I'm not saying.
Go on, it's over now. I can't do it now.
There's too much shithousery as it is. So have you got one for Dan? Have you got one for Ryan?
I've got a Man United one, just because I'm interested to see.
Go on.
Just to see the order he puts them in, but I think we can work it out. All three that were on his list. So it was Patrice Evra, Gabriel Heinze, and Dennis Irwin.
That's a piece of piss, that one.
I know, but that's the one I came up with.
Dennis Irwin starts, Evra's on the bench, and you sell Gabriel Heinze.
Okay, Dan, take Irwin out and put somebody else in.
From Man United or anyone?
Sylvester?
No, Sylvester's crap.
Evra?
No, Evra was too good. What about Evra? Patrice Evra? Andrew Robertson?
No.
No, hold on.
Okay.
Oh, you fucking made me lose where I was now.
All right, let's go.
Patrice Evra, Andrew Robertson, and Jordi Alba.
Oh, that's really easy. Robertson starts, Evra's on the bench, and I sell Jordi Alba.
I didn't think you'd say that, but I think I agree.
Jordi Alba's way overrated. Sorry, my personal opinion, but there you go. Let's have an England one, just for a giggle, just for the two of you.
Current England or former England?
Who's this
a
for?
mix of everything. Both of you.
All right,
Are you ready?
Go on.
Ashley Cole.
Yes.
Yep.
Stuart Pearce.
Oh.
Ben Chilwell.
Oh. Ben Chilwell sold.
I mean, I didn't watch Stuart Pearce, so I can't comment really.
But for me,
it's
Pearce.
Ashley Cole starting.
I've got to agree. Cole starting, Pearce on the bench for the animal reasons, and Chilwell can go and do one.
Wouldn't be my starting left back for England now.
Luke Shaw on form.
Luke Shaw is.
On form.
Okay, then let's have a really bastard one for the pair of you.
Oh, he's just laughing at this too much, isn't he?
Ashley Cole.
Oh, yeah.
Patrice Evra.
Yeah.
And Lizarazu.
That's Cashley. I mean, it's still Cashley.
No, I'm going Lizarazu for me. Lizarazu with Cole at second.
I'm still picking Ashley, and I'm getting rid of Patrice, and I love Patrice Evra, so that one's going to make me sad.
I'm going Lizarazu. He won a World Cup, for fuck's sake. Although that doesn't mean
anything. Sorry, but Jimmy Traore won a Champions League.
Jimmy Traore won a Champions League. You always come back to that bollocks, wouldn't you? No, Lizarazu, Cole, and then the other one can do one as far as I'm concerned.
Oh, I've got one for Pete. Jimmy Traore. Yan Suk Young.
I'm waiting for Andy Fire to appear.
No, he'll come in a few weeks to centre mid. Or Greg Shields.
Greg Shields was a right back.
I thought he was a left back.
No, he was a right back.
You screwed that one up, Dan.
On Championship Manager 2002, he's down as a left back.
He was a right back. He was the man in possession before. He was definitely on the right back. But Young took someone, and fucking hell. Jimmy Traore is sold on that. But I'll even take a right back.
Oh no! Back. All right, Ben Thatcher instead of Greg Shields.
Yeah, I'd sell Ben Thatcher. No, I'd sell Traore.
That was Charlton's choice of left back, and we wonder why we went down.
Yeah, Traore would go.
I remember Jimmy Traore got injured, went down hurt, and the Charlton fans cheered.
Yeah.
Like Jimmy Traore's injured, and then when we looked over to the bench and saw Ben Thatcher come on, we all went, "Oh fuck, doesn't really matter, does it?"
No, yeah. I'll do last one from my list, and then I think I'm out of names.
Good.
Ian Hart, John Arnorisa, or Eric Abidal.
I'm selling John Arnorisa. I like John Arnorisa, but I'm selling him.
I'm selling John Arnorisa. Eric Abidal, I'm playing. And Hart's on the bench.
Ian Hart. I remember Ian Hart playing for Carlisle against Charlton at about 38, and he was still the best player on the pitch.
Yes,
It was amazing. And he whipped in a free kick.
He did, yeah, I remember it well, because everyone was going, he can barely walk, let alone play football. And Jesus, did he?
Yeah, he's the best player on the pitch.
He was superb. That's, I think that's pick, bench, and shell. So we've got to do worst signings as well, haven't we?
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, should we do that now then?
Yeah,
we can do. Who wants to start?
Now, the criteria for this.
I may have fucked this up then. Hold on.
No, for me, it's going to be the worst signing for your club. For me.
Oh, I've got that too. That's all right.
Well, I was going to say, I've got 3 for my club and 2 for other clubs. So
I've got a list of shit signings, and then
I've got honourable mentions. Don't get me wrong, but I've picked 5 that are complete shit.
I've got a whole load list of names given to me by Ian Dowie.
Is Ian Dowie on that list?
He was possibly, yes. Actually,
Funny enough, he made the signing of the one that's top of my list for Charlton,
Yeah.
so that's interesting.
I think Jimmy Traore is up there, but as Charlton. But another one for me is Jimmy Floyd Hasselbaink, and I'll tell you why. We signed him on a free transfer from Middlesbrough on an absolute fortune, and he turned up, and I took Dan to see Charlton against Millwall at Millwall in a pre-season friendly.
Scored that trick in
He
fairness.
scored a hat-trick, but he was that's all he ever did for Charlton was that hat-trick. He was the fattest lump on the pitch. His arse was the size of a small country. It was terrible. And I've always had a thing about we would have if we had signed anyone but Jimmy Floyd Hasselbaink that season, things would have been better. But another one gets a mention is Andy Fye, because this man had an ability to not want the ball. He would run around the pitch and he would actively put himself in positions to not receive the ball. He was that bad. And I don't think you can get any worse than those. And another one, giving an honourable mention, because I don't think we saw him. He was a bit of a mystical feature at Charlton. He's the US defender, Corey Gibbs. Did he make an appearance? I don't think he did.
3 years and he never played once.
I'm buggered if he got in the team photo, let alone on the team. He was injured for the entire 3 years of his contract.
Sorry, no mention for Jesper Blomqvist at Charlton.
No, because he did okay. He was.
Did he?
No,
I thought he was buggered by the time you got him.
No,
he's all right.
He was buggered, but he could come off the bench and he got a few assists. But he
played in the middle as well, didn't he? Predominantly.
You had to see Andy Fye to understand how shite he was. I genuinely was scared of the ball when he was at Charlton. He would, if there was a midfielder from the opposition, he would deliberately go and stand near them so no bugger passed him the ball. I'm not the only. I've got other people who have this. I saw this week in, week out, and week in, week out. That donkey Dowie picked the muppet.
I'd just like to point out that I have a 1.
I have
a 1 for Charlton, a 2, and then another Corey Gibbs that was not Corey Gibbs, someone else. So my 1 is Andy Fye.
I know who your other not Corey Gibbs is.
Yeah, we'll get there.
He might be Uruguayan.
He's not, but it's,
it's
not that.
It's not that one.
It's going to be Ben Watson, isn't it? Come on.
No. I thought he was going Umar Puso.
No, because at least we saw Umar Puso.
Yeah, I suppose, yeah.
Won't say too much about him because he finds you on social media. So we will stop there on Umar Puso. So Andy Fye was my number 1 because, as Pete rightly said, he's knob. He was genuinely useless. My number 2 is, we talk about Lilian Thuram. Right?
Oh, I forgot all about his brother, his cousin.
We signed his cousin.
Goalkeeper.
Who, I swear to God, his hands are made of that fabric, this stuff. And if anyone's asking what I'm holding and showing them, it's a puppet. If your kids have probably got them at home, if you've got kids, his hands are made out of this stuff. He could not catch a cold if you sneezed in his face. He was ridiculous. And obviously, and my special shout out, my Corey Gibbs, the injured and never played, not only because he'd never played, he had a fantastic name. So full mention to Anil Koch. What a name you had.
Yes, Anil Koch. I've got another one to add to that. Right, because he was genuinely cack. He was one of the Du Châtelet signings. So when Du Châtelet took over, Anil Koch, Pete the Pole, who's doing a decent job in Poland. Polish Pete, yeah. And there was another one, Johan Thuram. We went all the way to Middlesbrough, and I think Dan travelled to the game as a fan. I went as a commentator, and the team sheet was handed to us, and Johan Thuram was in goal. It was like, no, we're in trouble here, bang in trouble. But there was another player.
Ben Hamer.
There was another player that we signed from in those. Guchanijed actually scored a goal. So Reza, the Prince of Persia, as we call him, scored a goal.
Yeah. He's the only Charlton player that scored at a World Cup.
He's true. He actually got me in trouble with Norman Hunter when we were tearing out.
This is just another setup, is it?
No.
This one?
No, but Norman Hunter gave me grief because Terry and I were commentating when Guchanijed scored the winner against Leeds, and Norman was giving me daggers from about 6 feet away. I was a bit worried on the way out. But there's another one at Charlton who turned up he played in the Euros this summer, and he played against England a few weeks ago. Loic Nego played at right back for Charlton, signed by Du Châtelet and this little character called Thomas Dreesen. There's one of our worst signings ever. Thomas Dreesen.
It's funny you say that. On my worst signing list, I've actually just put Roland Du Châtelet in general.
Yeah, you can. Yeah, there was, but no, there were some good signings that came through later on, like that Bob Peters made, and like Jan Berg.
Andre
BK, the ledge, who still owes me for that.
Igor
Vetekele for a season was decent, and of course, who's the guy?
But I can never forgive George Tukadian, who actually wasn't terrible for us.
No,
but if he'd just not fallen over 3 yards outside of the goal, we wouldn't have not beaten Mill since 1996 because we would have beaten 4 years ago. But he went round the keeper and fell over. So thanks, George. You're a dick.
Yeah, the Du Châtelet era, we could go through the signings there. That some of the signings that were made.
That's an episode.
Well, there's a whole episode there of shithousery from me and Dan. I've got to tell you. Yeah, sorry. Well, that's my worst signings.
No mention for John Barnes at Charlton.
No, he did all right.
He was very overweight.
He was very overweight. He was very fat, but he didn't play too badly. And at the end of the season, when we'd been relegated, he sat down with the first team and said to them, "You lot are far too good to be in the Championship next season. You should walk it. You've got the team here. You've got enough about you." John Barnes was not a bad signing for Charlton. It's what we needed at the time. It wasn't enough, but it was what we needed. Like Blomqvist, he wasn't at his peak, but he did fine. He did okay. I wouldn't. He's not by any chance is he a worst signing ever.
Right. Shall I go for my 3 Man United ones first then?
Oh, here we go.
I've got
3.
I've got 2 Man United players on.
Does it start with Fred, and Fred?
No. There's people worse than Fred.
Hang on, Dan's still got. Dan's only just come with Charlton.
No. I was going to let Ryan go as Man United, then we'll go back to general. I'd just like to say I've got 2 Man United players on here, so I want to see if they come up in Ryan's.
Right, the first one, we're going to go back to 1995. We got a French defender on trial. Pete knows exactly who this is. He was recommended by Monsieur Eric Cantona.
Yes.
Because they played together in the Auxerre youth side. His name was William Prunier.
That's him. Pants. Absolute dog shite.
Came in on trial. To be fair, it wasn't the easiest for him because he was only supposed to be coming in on trial. But then Pallister, Bruce, May, all 3 got injured.
Yeah.
So they had to play him. And then Dennis Irwin got injured as well for the Tottenham game. And Peter Schmeichel got injured in the warm-up and they tried to play him with the injury. And then I think it was Pilkington came on for Schmeichel. Yeah, it was a really bad... And Man United ended up getting thumped 4-1.
I'm not surprised.
And William Prunier was promptly sent straight back to Bordeaux, where he was never heard or spoken about again.
So you're discussing French defenders. Daniel, Charlton had a French defender. Do you remember him? Or a French player that came over? French. Not a World Cup winner.
The only Frenchman I can think of is Jan Kermigan. He didn't make this list.
No. What's his name?
Oh, he was Belgian.
Belgium. What was it?
Christophe Lepoix.
Christophe Lepoix.
My friend Joe called him Christophe. What's the point?
He had been playing in France at a high level, had a car crash, came to Charlton. That's literally what happened. Anyway, yes, Ryan, carry on.
The second one, I'm sure, is probably on Dan's list, and that is during the many, many goalkeepers that we had in between Peter Schmeichel and Edwin van der Sar, was one Massimo Traore from Venezia. Manchester United paid £4.5 million for him. He made 4 appearances. He made one horrendous mistake against Southampton, and in his final game, he conceded 5 against Chelsea. and we promptly sold him in 2000 as soon as we could, despite his claims in the media that Alex Ferguson begged him to stay and work through it. I think that one's. And the last one from Manchester United is a bit more recent. People might discard this one because he played 26 times for Manchester United and scored 4 goals, but he's in this list because of who he was and what we got. And that was Radamel Falcao. He came to us. We paid £6 million as a loan fee to Monaco. That's just the fee to get him on loan. Yeah. And turned up, shat the bed, played 26 games, scored 4 times. And this is Radamel Falcao, who for, I think, 2 years at Atletico Madrid basically shat all over the Primera Liga or whatever it's called in Spain.
Yeah.
So they're my 2 Man United
my
ones.
Man United players that I've got on this list are still there. Well, one of them I really can't believe.
One Sebastian Veron, one of the biggest wastes of money I've ever seen in a Man United shirt. And that's possibly because he wasn't suited to English football. I don't know. But
he went to Chelsea afterwards and was just as bad. So I think it proves that he wasn't. But I'm sorry, he's not even close to being the worst Man United have played. We're talking Eric Jemba.
I'm talking pound for pound, money-wise, he was...
I've got one. I've got one.
Come on in. Jadon Sancho.
No.
Well,
Alexis Sanchez.
Right? Yes, he's on my list of honourable mentions.
The bloke was being paid about 600 grand a week
to sit and do fuck all.
Yes.
He got an intro. Do you remember when Man United signed him?
The
Twitter the video. He got like a 3-minute video of him playing the piano at Old Trafford.
Yeah.
Yep.
I think he made his debut against Yeovil and looked out of place.
You know, pound for pound, that's probably the worst signing Man United have ever made.
The only good
pound
thing,
for pound, money wise.
The only good thing I can say about that transfer was it was a free transfer because it was a straight swap for Henrik Mkhitaryan.
But there would be a signing on fee that was, and then the wages.
The
wages. That's £1 million a fortnight.
Oh no, I know. But all I'm saying is that's the only good thing I can say about it is we didn't actually pay for him.
£26 million
and then
a year.
The other Man United player I've got, just while we're on Man United, and he'll probably be on Ryan's list.
Yep.
Bebe. No? Hello?
No, almost. The honourable mentions that I've got from Man United, Eric Jemba.
Yeah, definitely. Go with that one.
Kleberson.
Signed the wrong one.
Was one of those who had a great World Cup, and I'm still not convinced we signed the right one because David Bellion, I don't know if you remember him.
Yeah.
He was a young, pacey striker that was supposed to be really good and ended up really shit and ended up at Sunderland. Did he play for Charlton?
No. We almost signed him, though.
Yeah, and the last one, the most recent one, Donny van der Beek. Not because of his talent or because of how much money that Man United paid for him. He's just simply been a wasted signing because he doesn't play.
True.
So that's one of the worst transfers in all time.
That's why I'm saying Jadon Sancho at the moment.
It's a bit too early to judge Sancho. He's only been there 5 months.
Yeah, but I'm just saying.
Don't get me wrong. I'm not disagreeing with you. Why
at the moment,
I don't know, but he's only been there 5 months. Donny van der Beek has been there for almost 2 years now.
I know.
Played about 3 games.
It's 3 games. It is a mystery.
In total.
It's a complete mystery with Van der Beek. I don't know what's going on there. And the sooner I think he gets out of Man United, the better for him. You're missing out a goalkeeper that was signed, and I think Fergie regretted it straight away. Mark Bosnich.
Funnily enough, I was going to put him on my list because of his drug habit and how he left Man United. But
I've just thought, no, I can't mention that. But there's someone else. There's another player that has just come to mind that I can't mention. I'll do it.
Would it by any chance be Adrian Mutu of Chelsea?
No.
Because he was another one.
He's on
my list. That's a very good one. Fernando Torres to Chelsea was hilarious.
Andrei Shevchenko as well.
Balotelli to Liverpool. I enjoyed that one.
Balotelli to anywhere, really. Let's be honest. I've got that on my list. It actually says Mario Balotelli anywhere, really.
I've got 2 that I don't think will be on your list, but they're for 2 different reasons. So one is Luka Jovic, striker
Real Madrid.
Real Madrid.
Great in FM.
I have no idea why they signed him. I mean, he scored a shit ton for Frankfurt. He's gone to Madrid. He's been there 3 seasons. They've loaned him out, and he's barely played for them when he was with them. Why did you spend £54 million on a striker you plan to use 10 times?
He's great in FM.
He's fantastic in real life. His record for Frankfurt is disgusting.
Right.
And then the other one, I've only got one more, so I'll tip this one off and we'll go. Southampton a few years ago signed a Brazilian striker everyone said he was going to burst the league apart. And the best thing about him when he was his time at Southampton was that his name dramatically changed halfway through the season.
Go on.
So Danny Osvaldo, welcome to the list, my friend. I think you scored once all season, and halfway through the year, you changed your name. Congratulations.
There was another signing I was going to mention. You're too young, you two. In the early 70s, there was anyone of my age will know this name. There was a signing from Scotland. I think it was Celtic, and this player was going to be a world beater. He was going to be the greatest thing, and Arsenal signed him just after they won the double. He was going to be the main man, and I've no doubt you've never heard of Peter Marinello, have you?
The name rings a bell, actually.
Google Peter Marinello, the greatest player that never was. But there's another one that you should that Reading signed, and he was sold to Cardiff. And he was possibly the worst signing ever because he retired within 18 months. But his name's Robin Friday. Right. And there's a book about Robin Friday. Buy it, read it. It's a great story. And it's of a talent, a genuine talent that was wasted. But yeah, carry on.
Right, I've got a couple left. I'm going to give an honourable mention to Phil Jones because his injury record. We paid, God knows, I think about 20 million quid for him.
He's worth it for the facial gestures anyway, isn't he?
Worst transfer for Chelsea in history. His name was Winston Bogarde. He was a Dutch left back who signed on a free transfer from Barcelona. He was a part of the great Ajax side. At the time, he was one of those who managed to get a really good deal out of the Bosman ruling. So he was on 45 grand a week, which back in back in 2000, that was a big wage. He promptly played 9 games for Chelsea in 4 years and sat out his entire contract, earning 45 grand a week, even though he didn't play for 3 years.
Hey, listen, he's not dark. I mean, what's that? That's a fair amount of wage every year. He's set up for life, isn't he?
And he had people come in for him, and he was just like, no, unless you match my wages, I'm not going. And he just sat there and took the money.
He was probably hoping someone would come in and match, but they didn't.
And then at the end of his contract, do you know what he did?
Go on.
He retired.
Good man.
Why not?
That's shithousery, isn't it? And that's shithousery right there.
And Dan, going back to Real Madrid, you said Luka Jovic. I'm going to go one better for Real Madrid. And he's English as well. His name was Jonathan Woodgate.
Yeah, I knew that.
He
sent off in his debut.
This is a really good story. Jonathan Woodgate signed from Newcastle to Real Madrid for £13.4 million. He hadn't played for Newcastle in about 6 months because he was injured. His injury was so severe, he did then not go on to play for Real Madrid for an entire year. Then when he did finally make his debut, he scored an own goal and got sent off.
Thing is, when he was fit, he was class.
He went on to play 9 games for Real Madrid before leaving in 2007 to go to Middlesbrough for £7 million.
Oh, then he went to Tottenham. Yeah.
Michael Owen to Real Madrid.
So I was about to actually say
Michael Owen to Man United.
Funny enough.
Michael Owen to Stoke City.
No, but they're all on the list. Michael Owen to Newcastle United. Right. He left Real Madrid, went to Newcastle. Sat on the bench.
Refused to play when they needed him.
Refused to play.
Yep.
Not only did he refuse to play in a game that relegated Newcastle,
yes,
I think
true.
He played about 20 games in 3 seasons. I think on about 80 grand a week.
Yeah. More than that, I would think.
And there's one last name that you guys probably might not remember. This is quite a niche one. His name was Bosco Balaban, and he played
Liverpool.
Yeah.
I know the name. Who did he play for?
Yeah.
Aston Villa. They signed him for £6 million. He played 9 goals, scored no goals, and they fucked him off as soon as they could.
Who was the South American that Aston Villa had up front? There was
Juan Pablo Angel.
That's him. Yeah. And the other one at Birmingham City, Zigic.
Oh no. At least Zigic, to be fair, Zigic was part of their Carling Cup winning team, so you give him that.
I've only ever seen one person as tall as Zigic.
Almost bankrupt the club, Birmingham. Ironic. But the other one I was going to mention is Tottenham Hotspur because they're good at making some shit signings.
Sergei Rebrov?
Pavlyuchenko.
Roberto Soldado. This bloke scored a shit ton. turned up at White Hart Lane to replace Defoe, I think.
Yeah.
And he was shit. No,
They
it would have
had-
been Defoe. I don't know. No,
It might have
Bow.
been
Was it when
Defoe.
Bow left? Was he
Ben
part of the
who?
Bow money?
Yeah, he was part
Yeah.
of the Bell money. Yeah.
Yeah, well done, Tottenham.
But they had a series of strikers. Chris Armstrong, they bought from Palace. Absolute pile of pants when he signed for. And they had, was it Pavlyuchenko? There was the other fella,
Sergei Rebrov.
Sergei
Sergei
Rebrov.
Rebrov. And Arsenal as well have had a few stinkers up front.
Everywhere.
me-
Arsenal, Felipe Santos. They Park something Young, who they signed, a Japanese lad. They signed some of their strikers. They've had was pants. Kim Kallstrom went there and was god awful.
Kim Kallstrom was another good one on FM for a while. Was one of those players that was
Well,
good.
when he was at Arsenal.
Like Martin Odegaard when he was a kid. Although there's still time for him yet.
And a special mention for Dong Fancy Howe at Manchester United.
You're not mentioning Fred.
No,
No,
let's be honest.
He's shit, but he's not that shit.
We hammer Fred, but he's not as shit as someone like Eric Nevland, who was supposed to be the next Ole Gunnar Solskjaer and was absolute poop. I'm trying to think if there's any other ones that I can think off the top of my head that were really fucking
Paul
bad.
Konchesky at Liverpool.
Yeah,
That one
he was
stuns
pretty
me
bad.
for life.
No, this one stungs me for life. Julian Dix at Liverpool.
Danny Drinkwater at Chelsea.
Danny Drinkwater
Yeah.
anywhere
Oh.
after Leicester. Anywhere after.
Yeah.
But Julian Dix at Liverpool was so out of his league. And I remember his career ending at the Valley, pretty much. John Robinson turned him. He was coming back from his knee injury, and John Robinson turned him inside out. And that was Dix's career
Before you
done.
turn me.
Jack Rodwell for Manchester City.
Jack Rodwell for anyone past
Yeah.
Everton, really.
That was bad
Who
signing.
was? There was another one. There was another lad who went, who played at Man City, and he was to be the player of the future. But
Joe Hart.
No, Joe Hart. I mean, Joe Hart. To be fair to Joe Hart, he's went on and played for since he's not.
Yeah, but
awful.
looking back on it now, if you're the Manchester City manager at the time and you've got a choice between Kasper Schmeichel and Joe Hart,
Oh, yeah,
which
you
one
made
are
the
you
balls up.
selling?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, but that's with benefit of hindsight on what Kasper Schmeichel is now. But
Yes.
Kasper Schmeichel at the time then was possibly behind Joe Hart, but not far, clearly, because of the way he's gone on. That's another good one. Families,
Anyone?
football families with the Schmeichels. You've got Kasper, and that's for another week, I think, possibly.
Oh, and also, while we're on worst signings, anyone signed under Newcastle United in the last 5 years? Barring Alan St. Maximin.
Joe Linton.
Joe
Oh,
Linton is
that's
the big
good.
one.
Sebastian Haller
Oh,
at
you-
West Ham.
Demba Ba for me.
Why are you slagging off Demba Ba?
I just think
Demba
he's
Ba was solid.
It's quality.
Pony.
Papi
He was
Cisse
solid.
was shit. Oh, Liverpool, Andre Voronin. Right, they went through that. They went through that period, didn't they, in about 2011, where they signed anyone who scored against them in the Champions League. It's just full of shit.
Florence, what was it? Florence Singular Pongole or whatever
Florence
his name-
Cinema Pongo, Anthony
Liverpool.
Palak,
Liverpool, Jimmy Traore.
Jersey Dudek.
Get
It's fucking useless.
David James was. Oh, that was a terrible signing. Sorry.
No, I think have we covered the signings then?
Oh, I'm thinking of a few more. There's going to be a few more in my head. Give me a
few more. I
minute.
mean,
Give me a
could-
minute.
Milan
mean-
Baros at Aston Villa as well.
Oh yeah,
that one.
Milan Baros.
He was
Liverpool
very
as well.
bad. He was
I know-
good at Liverpool and bad at Villa.
I know he's been okay since we sacked him off, but I'm still saying Martin Braithwaite to Barcelona is completely. I'm sorry.
You've been on that Martin Braithwaite train
that happen?
since the very first episode, haven't you?
Well, I watched it, as I said in that episode, I watched Martin Braithwaite play for Middlesbrough at the Valley, and I thought, this bloke's turd.
And then he's now at
He's
Barcelona.
at Barcelona.
You could never have predicted that.
I don't, and the other one at Barcelona that confuses me is Luke de Jong.
Oh yeah.
And people said, "Oh, and I'm sorry, I know Xavi might be a great manager for Barcelona long term. He can come in and play this tic-tac football if he wants, because when it gets in the box, it goes to Luke de Jong and it'll end up at the top of the new camp.
Dan,
It doesn't matter
Dan, have you not heard the news?
what.
Have you not heard who Barcelona have signed?
Go on, who?
I know they've signed Dani Alves. Yeah,
Yeah,
Yeah, he's actually shit though, isn't he?
he's
I saw
38
it.
as well.
I saw it the other day and I was like, oh well. I mean, he was shit at 26, so it doesn't really make a difference now, does it?
Right then.
Yeah, I think we'll end
I
that
think
one
we're
there.
out,
'Cause we're done for shithousery now.
Shit housery of the week, Dan. What's the
Right.
week?
So I've got the winner, then I've got an honorary runner-up. So the winner is a well-known face to English football fans. It's Alexander Mitrovic. But
what's he done?
there's a backstory to this. So if you haven't seen it, I'll explain it. If anyone watched Euro 2020 and 2021, but we won't start with that one again. Cristiano Ronaldo had an interview where he was next to a bottle of Coke, but moved the bottle of Coke because he wanted to put his water on the front. So obviously Serbia knocked Portugal out. Well, not out, but Serbia qualified over Portugal.
I know what. Yeah,
to get to the European Championships. Ronaldo has a big quote that says, "Don't drink Coca-Cola, drink Aqua," or whatever it's called.
Yeah, Agua. Yeah.
At the end of the game, Alexander Mitrovic comes running onto the fans are all out. It's about an hour after the game. He runs onto the pitch with a Serbian flag around him in his boxers, with a bottle of Coke in each hand. Glass bottles of Coke, and he's celebrating with these 2 bottles of Coke with the Serbian fan. Genius. Well done, Alexander Mitrovic. That is, you are shithouse. The other one, I think, is accidental shithousery because I think it's been solved since. But if the England played San Marino in an abusive match, really. I mean, don't know how else to use it. Jude Bellingham takes his shirt off and goes over to the England fans. And there's a sign that says, "Jude, can I have your shirt, please?"
Yeah.
And there's a bloke that has this thing. And then there's these 4 to 5 chairs. And then there's Jude Bellingham. And the camera zooms in on the guy that has the Jude Bellingham shirt. And the shithouse of the week this week is the cameraman, who then pans to Jude Bellingham giving his shirt to a kid about 5 chairs away. And then the cameraman zooms into the bloke's face who has the sign, who looks like someone's just stole his phone off him and is in shock.
Oh no!
The cameraman zooms into his face. Have you ever seen a film where something goes wrong and they zoom in? That's exactly what the cameraman did. So well played. Having said that, Jude Bellingham has since gone to Twitter and said, "I didn't see the sign. If you know the person or are the person, please get in touch with me and I'll send you a shirt," which is nice. But the cameraman that's fantastic shithousery.
Did you see the cup game last night? Stockport versus Bolton.
No.
All right. In the last seconds of injury time, this lad broke away and scored the 5th goal for Stockport in an upset against Bolton. And Bolton were having a good season to make it 5-3.
Technically.
Yeah. He went to celebrate with the crowd, and then took his shirt off to celebrate, and then dropped it on the floor. As he was celebrating, the pitch was invaded. And then the game, the referee went to restart the game, literally, and there was the goal scorer in his vest, stood there going, "I ain't got a shirt, Gov." And he had to go, they had to go and get him a shirt from the club shop or something to put that on. But then the referee started the game. As soon as they kicked the ball, he blew the whistle for full time. Shithousery, that is.
He just scored in the 120th minute, didn't he? So that makes sense.
Yeah.
While we were just talking about England before we end, can we just quickly talk about the England game? Because for me, I've always said that England need to be ruthless, but that wasn't pleasant watching for me. That
was lovely.
I enjoyed it.
No, I didn't. I'm sorry. When it gets to double digits,
that's not England's fault.
No, I know, but I'm just saying it's not a pleasant watch to watch someone sit there and get completely and utterly spanked.
Well, if it was Palace, I'd have loved it. I tell you,
they shouldn't be playing at this level. They really shouldn't.
But that's not England's fault. And England, they went out and filled their boots. Listen, you're an England's footballer, and there's a chance for you to score a goal in wearing your club shirt. It doesn't. When you look at it, it says 36 caps, so many goals. It doesn't say that. Oh, so many goals. Oh, 4 of them were against San Marino. It doesn't say that. It just says goals for England. I've got no problem with it.
I enjoyed myself. I mean,
I thoroughly enjoyed it.
I do agree. I do agree that there needs to be, I think, like
a pre-qualifying,
a different section for the. I don't think necessarily they should get like a. I've seen people saying that the San Marino, Gibraltar should have their own qualification. No, I don't think they should be at a World Cup. But this is where the Nations League can do good, that they play each other to improve rather than just get spanked. I
spoke to Ryan about this. I think we talked about it the other day, didn't we, Ryan? My thing is that we should have the main playoffs for the World Cup. But the year before that, these small teams should all play in a couple of group games. So they're playing against each other. They've got a chance at a result. And maybe the top 2 then proceed to the main qualifying. That way, you don't have games like England versus San Marino, England versus Andorra. San Marino had improved, but they've gone backwards now, and because they were saying that their record had improved. But you look at their top scorer, the record scorer, has scored 8 goals. That's the record scorer, 8 goals.
They've never won a competitive game at all. And to make it even more embarrassing, the person that they chose to wheel out on TV at the end of the game for San Marino was the poor bloody goalkeeper who'd spent the half the night picking the ball out of his own bloody net.
And he is actually a professional goalkeeper in Serie A.
Yeah, he is. Yeah, I suspect he should have been having treatment for a bad back for picking over and picking the ball out of that net so many times. But I think something needs to be done so that there is a system where these smaller teams can play against each other, and the top two.
They have it, but they have that, don't they? This is the thing. The people have been so against the Nations League because it makes no sense for the top nations to have another random cup to fight over. But actually, it's not just the top teams because the bottom teams are playing each other. Gibraltar, I think, played San Marino, won like 3-0.
That's who
Gibraltar.
Well done. That's who Andorra, Liechtenstein, Luxembourg, and all these teams should be playing each other.
That's the only way they're going to get better.
Yeah. They're not going to get better losing 10, 11, 12. 13,
yeah, I'm sorry. I just don't think they should be playing us at all.
No. Right.
Because it doesn't benefit them in any way to get randomly spanked. And you can say the same for Kazakhstan, who got done by 8 by France, I think it was. It just doesn't benefit anybody.
No, I totally agree. I think that's one of the few occasions where all three of us agree and we haven't got salty about something. So that's good news, and that's a good way to end the podcast. What's the matter, Dan?
No, I just want to say, just before we end, something on a bit of we'll do like a happy note section.
Go on.
We all spoke quite happily about North Macedonia at the Euros, of course.
Yeah.
After their shock appearance. Well, they've made it to the playoffs for the World Cup.
It's good.
Which, I remember with that minnows, and we all said about how well they've done. Well, they've overcome a group that had Germany, Romania, and Iceland.
So they backed it up.
They've backed it up. They got 5 wins, and they only lost twice, which was both games against Germany. So they were unbeaten against Romania, Armenia, Iceland, and Liechtenstein.
Well, they deserve to be in the playoffs.
And they're a side that, they're going to go in unseeded, and that's a mess.
I'm looking forward to Scotland getting done in the playoffs by someone.
But how the playoffs are going to work is
they're seeded, aren't they?
Really, so it's seeded, but it's seeded so there's 6 seeded sides and 6 unseeded sides. So the 6 seeded are Portugal, Scotland, Italy, Russia, Sweden, and Wales.
Yeah.
The unseeded are Turkey, Poland, Macedonia, Ukraine, then Austria and Czech Republic, who didn't finish second but won their Nation League groups, also qualify for the thing. They're going to go into 3 sets of 4.
So it's not. Hang on. So it's not a playoff final sort of thing.
It's a playoff semi-final. So you win your group, then there are 3 extra spots that Europe
Everyone loves a semi.
Europe has 13 teams that qualify to the World Cup. The 10 group winners, then 3 others that are done by the playoffs. So they'll go into 3 sets of 4. There'll be a semi-final. Say if Portugal draw Turkey and Scotland play Poland, the winner of those 2 will face each other to go to the World Cup, and that will happen all the way down.
Okay, that's fine.
I don't know why they don't just qualify the best 3 second place teams, but because
that's how it used to be.
That would qualify Scotland, and I'm not for that. So
I'd like Scotland to go and then get in the group of death and get absolutely banjaxed, absolutely mullered. That amused me huge.
Well, we all saw Scotland win the Euros, didn't we? Oh no!
No.
So I'm just going to say something here. I'm not quite sure what your 2 beef is with Scotland, but to be fair to Scotland,
where do you want me to start?
Had they had a decent striker at the Euros, they would have done us. We were on the rack for.
We were shit against them, to be fair.
But we always are. See, the England-Scotland game for some reason, always down the years.
It's that rivalry thing, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a rivalry
thing.
It's
that rivalry thing.
The Scottish players will raise their game to another level. The argument is, why didn't the England players raise theirs? But those are different games. And if you've been I've been to one of those games, and I've been to other England games, and the atmosphere just goes up a notch. It is something else.
It's a bit like, they say about every rivalry, and it's a bit of a cliche, but I think it's actually true. When 2 teams play each other, rivals, form does go out the window.
It does, yeah.
I've seen many, sadly, Charlton are on the losing end of most South London derby.
Except famously once against Palace.
Well, twice, but we'll count the one that's important.
Just the one that matters.
I've seen us go in on like a 6-game unbeaten streak.
Against Millwall.
Millwall go in without winning in 4, and then they put 4 past us.
Yeah, I've seen it. Yeah, I've seen it.
Man United last year, I think if I'm right, Ryan, they had a terrible run, but then didn't they do Liverpool at Old Trafford after a terrible run?
Last year, I think
either last year or the year before.
It's happened.
Ollie's record up until this year has actually been really good against the top teams.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
Beaten all of them.
I think he was on quite a bad period of run, wasn't he? And then
he's just
they beat Liverpool.
He's just beating himself.
It might have been Man City, actually. Now I think of it, it might have been Man City.
Yeah, I think England's
rivals go out the window.
Yeah, rivalry, form, and everything goes out the window in a derby. Yeah, that's well. I think we have covered everything now. And next week, Dan, we may have a guest next week. Are you happy to tell us about who?
Yes. So next week we have a lovely appearance from a lady called Victoria. She is part of the Her Game 2 movement. If you haven't heard of them, it's a movement about women in football. It's what it says on the tin, really. They're an organisation that are trying to eradicate sexism from football. From the footballing industry. There's about 12 to 15 girls. We'll have Victoria on next week to speak about it, obviously in more detail, who, they just want football to be a respectful place. And I completely agree. As someone who's gone to football for many years, sadly, we've all seen, sexism and not only sexism, but they make a big point about racism and as I said, we'll get into it more next week.
And homophobia as well.
Homophobia,
yeah, big time.
This mainly about sexism, but they also do mention, if you go onto their website, which is hergame2.co.uk, they have their aims, which is to create awareness, educate, research, create regular content for women's football, which I think is rising in the world. So I'm really looking forward to having Victoria on. I think we're all looking forward to having Victoria on.
You're going to do the interview for that one, though, aren't you?
Yes. So we'll see her next week, and I'm really looking forward to it.
Excellent. Okay, that's pretty much it for another podcast, episode 19. Dan, you want to talk about the sponsor you're involved with?
Yeah, let us talk mental health. Football team raising money for mental health. By the time you probably hear this, we would have played on the Friday night, depending on when this go out. So next week, I'll keep you informed on how we got on against the People's FC, raising money for charity. We have some more games coming. If you're in the Eastbourne area, we have a game coming your way in a few weeks. So we'll keep you updated with that, because that could be fun. And Ryan, you're the group you're involved with?
The Proper Blokes Club, walking and talking for men's mental health. So if you're a fella and you're feeling down, you don't want to talk to your nearest and dearest or your GP, go on to www.theproperblokesclub.co.uk, have a look for your nearest walk and talk, and you can go and let some steam off and feel better on your way home.
Cheers, Ryan. Thanks very much, Dan. Goodbye, everyone. See you again next time.